Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So Dev Diver is here. It largely speaks about Spider-Woman, also a bit about Battlegrounds and Elder difficulty. There's a lot to break down, so let's jump into it. And I want the game to do well. I want for people to be happy. I generally want the best for the people making this game, if they do a great job. And ultimately, for me personally as a content creator as well, if the game does well, in my eyes, it's a win-win. If I'm having more fun playing the game, it's easier for me to create content. I can upload positive things. I can showcase, champions. I'm happy. If more players are happy, then there are going to be more people playing because more people will come back to the game that have left it after a while, or if content kind of like promotes this game being awesome, I might encourage more people to join the game, and ultimately more people playing this game is better for Kabam, their revenues, and for me, and also for the channel. If the game is doing poorly, players are leaving, that is bad for Kabam. I'm angry. It's harder for me to create content. If players are leaving, there's going to be less people viewing me. Things are bad and I'm not having fun. It's harder for me to make content. And it's a lose-lose situation. So everything I say on the channel is not because I'm trying to be nasty or mean. It genuinely is starting from the stance that I want this game to do the best it can do. One of my personal kind of gripes with Kabam also is that I personally believe this game could have been 10 times the size it is right now if they were better at managing it. Right. So keep that in mind as I'm going to break this post down. Greetings, Summoners. Malconso Champions has had its doors open for over 3,945 days. Needless to say, the 13th September of 2025 have not been a highlight of the contest. Today we want to address the recent Spider-Woman balance update, recent game changes, and the valid concerns raised by the community. Our goal is to provide transparency, acknowledge where we fell short, and outline how we're working to find a middle ground that respects not only the health of the game, but also your trust in us. And missing the mark here is not the way I'd put it. Part of reasoning, trust is having accountability come forth and say we missed the mark. I don't believe this is, again, kind of a genuine type statement, because I think it's more so that they're upset that the community reacted the way it did, rather than they see what they did wrong. If that kind of catches the drift. After taking time to comb through all the feedback, yes, we really do read and listen to all of it. I think it's fair to say that the mark was missed. You can word it like that. I would express it differently, but fair enough. Let's get to the nitty-bitty gritty part. We stated that Spider-Woman's update was intended to address her defensive threat, but the change outlined also have a large impact on her offensive capabilities. The disconnect between our stated goals and the proposed adjustments was significant oversight. We understand this caused rightful confusion and frustration, especially for players who invested in her. This change substantially reduced her offensive utility, which doesn't align with the focus we communicated. This impacts the player's experience in negative ways that we did not intend. Now, again, this I have a problem with, because they're effectively saying is that the problem is that they said that they didn't want to, adjust her offensively. And it makes it almost seem as if that if we had only said that she's overperforming offensively as well, we could have gotten away with it. It's because we said one thing and we did another thing, which is bad, but it's not the source of the issue here either. The gaslighting in the post, the lying in the post, is a problem, and it is an extra factor that infuriated players. It is not the only factor, it's not even the biggest factor. I personally believe the moment Bam decided to utter the words that Serpent is balanced, this game changed. I do think it is like, it is a Nexus event, right? Because if Serpent is balanced, then nothing created since Serpent, and nothing created before Serpent for quite a while, is unbalanced. Serpent is by far and away the most disgusting champion that has been created in this game. Period. Serpent has like 40 defensive abilities. Serpent has more abilities than an average mini-boss plus a set of nodes rolled into one. Serpent is so defensively dominant and capable that it accidentally made him also one of the best offensive champions in the game outside of Battlegrounds. When we're talking a mid to long range content, when we're talking challenge content, when we're talking Everest content, when we're talking Alliance War, Serpent is a top tier attacker by accident. Because nobody intended to make Serpent a good attacker. They intended to make Serpent a good defender. Everything and anything they do in terms of the game balance, whether Kabam likes it or not, will be brought back to Serpent. That is a fact. Every single time they touch a single hair on any champion in the future, tuning them down, it's going to get brought back to Serpent, whether they like it or not. Again, I don't think Kabam themselves, the designer who made Serpent, and everybody involved in the whole balancing process understands what the fuck they did when they didn't touch Serpent. Because if Serpent doesn't get touched, there is no moral justification to down-tune any champion, really. And it's just the way it is. And whether they like it or not, any champion in the future, adjusted, people will use the argument Serpent. I genuinely believe that this Serpent being called balanced, and Kabam saying effectively that Serpent is doing what they wanted him to do, which is to make us suffer, is an inflection point for the game. Because that is when they change the rules. That is when they change the definition of balance or what can be considered balance, according to them. Not even that we did it. The Kabam did it to themselves. And we didn't want that to happen. Just about everybody that I know in community was like, we get tuned on, man. Like an auto lose type of champion, the amount of abilities that he counters is insane. And the moment Kabam said it's like, yeah, nah, fuck you, you're meant to suffer. Community stomached that. But we will never forget it. Because we get reminded of it daily when we have to deal with these champions. And it's not going away. It really, really isn't. Unless Kabam's going back and actually making those adjustments now in some sort of urgent fashion, and again makes another post of how wrong they were not to nerf Serpent and make a whole thing about it. If we are just moving forwards, then the forwards we move, but the rules have changed. And Kabam can call it the Serpent rule, or they can call it however they want. But that's going to be a thing. Additionally, going past the point of Serpent, and Dark Phoenix, and Enchantress, and the rest of the champions that Kabam deemed to be balanced and doing what they wanted, that again automatically implied that Kabam wants us to buy direct counters, and if we don't happen to have them, or if we don't happen to draft them, just lose. I still to this day remember the argument Kabam used on Serpent. Well, you can just ban him. Part of the game strategy. Like, well, guess what, dipshit? With that type of logic, any champion is balanced because you can just ban Spider-Woman. There was no need to change Spider-Woman. That hypocrisy, that uneven standard, combined with the gaslighting of these posts, it is what brought the reaction that it did. Not to mention Kabam referring to her champion attributes, and she's performing better than 3.5. Yeah, well, so is Serpent. Serpent's performing at 8 out of 5. Right? Dark Phoenix is performing at 8 out of 5 or 7 out of 5. Hate isn't 2 in attack. Destroy isn't 4 in damage. These champion attributes have always been wildly inaccurate, but Kabam has never brought them up. Until now, basically. or they bring them up when they want to justify something, which again feels disingenuous. Because unless Kabam goes back and actively adjusts all of these champion attributes, they simply cannot use them as an argument for anything. As long as Kate Bishop is marked as 2.5 in damage, those attributes and using them as an argument for anything isn't worth more than the toilet paper I have already used to wipe my own ass. Because they're just wrong. And we all can see them being wrong. But let's move on. A key goal in keeping Malcolms of Champions fair, fun, and competitive, our balance program is a cornerstone of this commitment, allowing us to adjust champions who were significantly overperforming to ensure a healthy meta or underperforming so they see usage across the contest. Again, this is just going back to Serpent argument. If Serpent was deemed to be performing as intended, this doesn't work anymore. The balance program doesn't work anymore. Additionally, not one of these things is not like another. What Kabam is also failing to understand, and what many people haven't necessarily thought about, is that when a champion is underperforming and they tune that champion up, it statistically, realistically doesn't matter. For example, let's assume this player base has, I don't know, a number of 100,000 players that have Patriot. Out of those 100,000 players, prior to tune-up, maybe 10 ranked up Patriot and used Patriot. I know these numbers are like an exaggeration, but bear with me for the sake of argument. So Patriot's tune-up was meaningless because out of 10 people who might have used Patriot prior to the tune-up, maybe it's 20 now. And most people just don't care about the champion, don't use him, never will. And has a very small impact on the game at large. When they didn't tune down Serpent, for instance, it affects 100% of the players. Because even if you don't have a Serpent, you have to fight against Serpent every day. Every alliance where there's a Serpent waiting for you. Every Battlegrounds match you have, opponent has a Serpent in their deck, basically. And that affects 100% of the players all the time, multiple times a day. So whilst their offensive tune-ups, from turning abysmally bad champions to fairly bad or mid champions, have barely any impact on the game, any tune-up that they do to champions that are up here and bring them down affects 100% of the players. But fine. Particularly her defensive output was identified as exceeding her intended thresholds. Already discussed why intended thresholds bear no meaning anymore. If you have fought her in Node 42 in Alliance War, you know just how terrifying she can be in the right scenario. We strongly stand by the need to balance changes, maintain long and short-term game health. We recognize that the execution of this wasn't up to standards. And here's the thing. I think there was a justifiable and reasonable way how to do this. If Kabam came out openly and specifically started talking about her defense only and took away that ensnare only from the defense and explained with the fact that there are far too many nodes that interact insanely crazy, mentioning the Node 42 in Alliance, we're mentioning other interactions and matchups, and says that it's very difficult and impossible to, for instance, balance the game around Spider-Woman with these abilities intact. And then, one of the best arguments about her defensive tune-up would be the fact that the 30% ensnare fails a ton of champions that are meant to counter her. For instance, that 30% ensnare can easily mess up Crossbones, and a champion that's meant to be able to destroy her, could fail that match. The 30% ensnare, often fails Venom's Clintar buff, for instance. And, in a matchup that's fairly difficult and you can't time your special attacks necessarily, it is a big problem when, for instance, Spider-Woman starts destroying a Venom that's a champion directly designed to counter her abilities. That they could have solved, and people would have been way more understanding. But even after all of this, Kabam still is doing things their own way. To be entirely candid, there was a breakdown in our internal process for the Spider-Woman update. These changes were implemented through the proper channels, but this process revealed opportunities for improving approval framework internally. The current process led to a lack of clarity and inadequate communication to you, which was a mistake, and we take full responsibility for it. Fair enough. Do whatever you want to do with your in the process. After taking all of this in, we're going to be adjusting Spider-Woman's update to better align with our goals. While keeping the identity of Spider-Woman intact in offense, we will still be removing the ensnare from her kit, as we feel the general build accuracy reduction is what makes her unhealthy on defense. However, alongside this removal, while her fumble is active, her opponent will not be able to evade. One thing to note on this, since her fumble is a severe debuff, it makes her sound even stronger and more reliable evade counter. Now, here is the thing. This is where I have another major problem with. And let me explain. Number one, the fact that he's trying to make it sound like this is better. Since her fumble is a severe debuff, this makes her even stronger and more reliable evade counter. Yeah, she will be a better evade counter in very, very few instances. As in, she'll be able to counter evade better, mainly against champions who don't evade, and also, against some nodes. But he makes this seem like an upgrade, which it isn't, because you're still losing the 30% ability accuracy, which is huge. And there is absolutely no reason why Ensnare had to get removed on offense. They still have not given us justification for that or the reasoning why they're sticking to it. So that makes me feel as if they're not telling us something. And I was quite right about it, because in one of the posts afterwards, in general, we don't find her unreliable source of ability accuracy reduction to be a healthy part of her kit, either on defense or attack. However, we want to keep her evade counter intact. So, first of all, this is a completely different thing to what they are saying here. This is completely different. And it still effectively leads me to believe that there are reasons, there's very specific reasons and very specific matchups why they want that 30% ability accuracy gone. Which they are absolutely not being transparent about. Because this logic is also flawed. And let me explain to you why this logic is extremely flawed. We don't find her unreliable source of ability accuracy reduction to be a healthy part of her kit. The whole language there is kind of like, it's unreliable, it's meaningless, right? Like, well, wait a minute. Like, whoa, wait a minute. How about all the champions in this game that have like 30-40% disorients? How about Okoye, who has Ensnare on, who only has 30% ability accuracy reduction? How about Jabari Panther and whoever else that has existed in the game forever and has unreliable accuracy reduction? In fact, vast majority of ability accuracy reduction champions don't go up to 100%. They have 20 stack up twice to 40, or 50% ability accuracy reduction, like for Massacre and his Disorient and stuff like that. All of those are unreliable. It's 30, 40, 50. You can't rely on it. It's not 100. With that statement, no ability accuracy reduction is healthy, basically. So ultimately, I still hate this change. They are still making Spider-Woman a worse champion than she was. Let me explain to you why. I would love to do that if my conscious arc worked properly, but first of all, we're going to go to the Dark Phoenix fight. Again, I have used this example previously. That 30% ability accuracy allowed her to fail root 1/3 of the time. So on every third special attack Dark Phoenix throws, there's a chance I don't get rooted, so I don't take block damage from that. 30% ability accuracy reduction allowed Spider-Woman to fail the Null Flames after each special attack. So every time there was 30% chance I will not take damage from those Null Flames. That combined with the fact that she has a quick release level 1 with multiple hits effectively allowed me to evade Null Flames all the time in this fight, or most of the time. The 30% ability accuracy reduction affected Phoenix's level 2, for instance. So even if I didn't fail the root, I had a chance to fail the Fury buff and take less block damage that way. Even if I didn't fail the Null Flames or didn't get rid of them in time, the 30% chance to fail that Fury, reduced those Null Flames. The 30% chance had 30% ensnare had a chance to fail the Immortality to bypass all the damage at the end there. If I didn't fail the Immortality, it still had 30% chance to fail that long Null Flame at the end while the Immortality is active. As an end result, this matchup was not great, but it was doable. And it was reasonable. Now, this matchup is going to be significantly worse. Same thing with Serpent. The 30% ability accuracy was significant enough in we had a potential to fail the Immortality, we had a potential to fail the Power Gain, we have a potential to fail the True Focus and evade the special attack, we have a potential to fail his Power Gain from level 2. All of that adds up, making this matchup more manageable. Right? Right. And the same goes in a ton of different matchups with a ton of different node combinations. That thing helped you a ton. It genuinely did. Be that Mystic class champions. For instance, against Kindred, you had a 30% chance to fail the Immortality at the end. If you didn't fail the Immortality, you had a chance to fail the root. Right? You had a chance to fail any given nodes that are active there. You had a 30% chance to fail, I don't know, Electro's damage back. It was unreliable, but it made it better than, champions who don't have that. It kind of worked out decently well. So the 30% build actually is a big fucking deal. And the change that I'm making to her now is still going to make her significantly worse than she used to be on attack. All of that, whilst Kabam is pretending and wording it like that she's going to actually be kind of better now. Now we're getting rid of this unreliable ability accuracy reduction whilst we're giving you this upgraded evade counter. Yeah, I still don't like the trade-off. They're saying us this is a compromise and this is meeting us halfway. No, it isn't. Because if this is 100% of what Kabam wanted to do, and this is player base, getting its way for Spider-Woman not getting touched, this is what they did. Meeting us halfway would be remove the ensnare on defense only. But they didn't do that. And they still don't explain why. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is still an incredibly shit champion. And to me, doesn't give faith that Kabam is, compromising and meeting us halfway and working with, the best intentions. And no, I still hate this change. Objectively, Spider-Woman is still going to be worse than she is, both offensively and defensively. There's just no way around it. So after all of this, it's not compromising and meeting us halfway. It's throwing players a bone, the way I see it. The key point here is that we won't reverse every unpopular decision just because it's controversial. If we believe it's ultimately the right call for the game's overall benefit, in this scenario, based on your feedback and after full review, we believe we could have chosen a better course of action, and it would be stubborn on our part to double down on its taking. It's time to reevaluate and course correct to a better outcome. And this is, perfectly fine. In yesterday's stream, I talked about how Kabam is entirely free to basically do whatever they want. They genuinely are. But so are the players. Kabam can nerf every good attacker tomorrow if they're willing to live with what happens after. Because every single thing Kabam does will cause and does cause a player reaction. Based on what they do, increasing amount of players are leaving, are stopping spending, and whilst I do think that there might be some things that are genuinely good for the game and are unpopular and stuff like that, but I don't think that's some sort of get out of jail free card. As I said, they are free to do what they want and what they think is best for the game. But if they can't convince the players, but if they can't communicate it, if they can't make the players feel valued, if they can't make sure that players are on board with their plans, it will be their bottom line. It will be their game that goes down the toilet. And every single shitty thing that they do does have a knock-on effect. For instance, this. They think they have found a middle ground. There are two things. First thing, they already have done damage. There are players who left because of this and are not coming back. There are players who stopped spending, period, or significantly cut down the spending because of this. There are players who will be less likely to buy Valiant crystals and early access bundles for any upcoming champions because of this. There are players, who are just gone now. And this post is not going to bring them all back. It might bring some back, but it's not going to bring them all back. And it doesn't even matter whether those players are justified or right to feel the way they do. The fact of the matter is that they do. Whether it's rational or irrational, or whether Kabam's technically right, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If they're gone, they're gone. Right? They might have gone for, let's say, a stupid reason, or Kabam was correct and they just got upset over nothing. It still doesn't matter. If enough players leave, they're still going to be out of the job, and this game is not going to be going on for very much so longer. So Kabam can have any self-right of justification they want about anything, and that's fine. But none of it will matter. Players don't like it, or players are not willing to live with it and just move. Every single one of these shitty things that Kabam has done over the last year or so is driving people away. That's it. Like the top 30 prestige change. I hear there's going to be some announcements, some explanations, some things that players will like about top 30 prestige change. But guess what? It doesn't matter whether somebody in the future will like it if they have already left and they don't and then come back. And maybe 2 years down the line, somehow Kabam is going to, adjust the game where the top 30 prestige is better than the top 5 was. I don't believe that, but maybe it will. But again, that will not matter There's not enough people playing this game at that point. And they haven't sold it to the players well enough. Further adaptive event quest updates. Last month we launched our adaptive event quest. After it was live for about a week, it was clear we needed to make an immediate update. We said that we would be significantly reducing the health and attack values in both classic and elder difficulties, as we didn't realize the scope in which our casual players utilize the event quest as their main source of gameplay. Okay, this is some sort of bullshit as well. This feels disingenuous. Because we know for a fact Kebab has all of these graphs and statistics and all of that stuff that they do follow. So we didn't realize how many people play this quest is not a feasible answer. In a world where they know exactly how many people use which champion, what champion has how high success rates in Battlegrounds and how high success rates on attack and how high success rates on defense, and all of this information that can be easily gathered, this just doesn't seem true. We didn't realize. I don't believe that. Cut the values by about 30%, which is significant margin for an emergency update, and while we believe we landed a solid spot for elder difficulty, with there only being one difficulty for classic, we feel it was not enough for some of our casual players. With the upcoming event quest of October 8th, you will see the following change. We will be reducing the health of the defenders in classic mode even further. We will be launching an elder difficulty for Cav and Thronebreaker players. This, I mean, it's not bad with it changing, but again, it's missing the mark yet again in this post, because one of the biggest things that Kebab does not address here is the fact that it's 100% absolutely not worth doing this content at all for newer and mid-level players. The total rewards of Elder or new monthly event quest prestige-based system for newer players are worse than 3 or 4 days of daily super event. They can make it easier, they can make it quicker. If it's relatively hard for extremely shit rewards, it doesn't matter. Like, people will still not play it. Additionally, making Elder difficulty accessible for like how players, they don't have 15 champions of the same class ranked that can interact with the nodes and are strong enough to, clear the map without healing. It's not even about attack and defense. They're just not going to have enough champions that are in the ballpark of being viable to be used in those quests. So again, making it it's not a bad thing. It just doesn't matter that much. Like, how players will be able to do the Elder difficulty? Like, maybe 5. It's, again, this seems missing the mark. This seems barely mattering at all. Because, again, reducing the health of the defenders in classic mode, it's fine, but, classic mode wasn't necessarily the issue. For experienced players, the issue is that we have to do the classic mode in the first place. And for newer players, it's the fact that it's completely disproportionate and unrewarding. Our goal here is to make Classic an approachable event quest experience where you can experience monthly story of constant champions without feeling like you need to stay hyper engaged to enjoy your session. We want an Elder difficulty load. But again, do you mention the rewards, an adjustment of rewards for the lower prestige players? We want to add Elder difficulty for lower progression players who want to push challenge themselves further than their current roster might suggest they can go. In addition of the Elder difficulties, players might mean no challenge, yada yada yada, whatever. We also heard a wave of feedback loud and clear that for our Valiant players, acquiring classic runs simply feels like busy work on the way to Elder. Absolutely. It's hard to disagree with this sentiment. Then why make us do it in the first place? And again, genuinely, like, how made it done? Because hard to disagree with this sentiment, and as the guy who made this post obviously played this game for a long time. Why did it happen in the first place? But we have full intentions to allow Valiant players to bypass Classic in near future. However, this requires additional engineering work that we don't currently have the capacity to support due to other features already in progress for this year. So unfortunately, we won't be able to make this happen immediately, but we're targeting early next year for when we will be able to add this feature. Do you mind? Well, this is a few months away. This really. This doesn't seem like the type of thing that should take 3+ months. This genuinely feels bullshit. It genuinely feels like what's the best way to put it? This feels on the level of where if my wife asked me put a shelf on a wall, and I'd tell her that due to my prior engagements and other things I had planned for this month, she will have her shelf hanged up before Christmas. My wife would murder me for a reply like that. It isn't that big of a deal. It genuinely isn't, or at the very least, it shouldn't be. 3+ months? Really? Again, it doesn't feel like Obama is taking this seriously at all. This feels like the type of things like, I'll get to it when we get to it. Just settle down, you peasants. Classic should move much quicker now due to the further reduction in health across. Anyways, whatever. A decision on the Elders, Marks, and Battlegrounds. To round out this September dev diary, we have talked about energy and Elders Marks. As you know, we had intentions to overhaul the energy economy to maintain pacing and make different game modes of gameplay feel more meaningful than they have been. When we communicated our plan to pivot, we said we had taken your concerns about Elders Marks removal part and we are re-evaluating. We took a lot of time to consider all possible options and ultimately we're happy to be able to tell you that Elder Marks will be staying and will act exclusively entry into competitive Battlegrounds. Now, Elder Marks will no longer be directly purchasable for units. However, you can... Nobody purchased them anyways because Elder Marks currently are useless because Kabam is not adjusting the Alliance event rewards for like a year plus now. However, you can convert 15 energy into 19 Elders Marks at any time in an unlimited fashion. To save you the math, let me quickly outline upcoming 120 units in energy refills roughly. I mean, this is fine. I think it's fine. Because, you know, anytime you have unused energy, you can just kind of grab some Elders Marks and, you know, fill up on them that way. So it can kind of work as an energy kind of overfill area, I guess. It also completely eliminates the meaning of Elders Marks, because if everybody is getting the extra points because you do every match in Elders Marks, then, you know, it's fine, I guess. So while we're doing this, we want a proper way to distinguish between ranked and unranked Battlegrounds entry queues surprise. Unranked Battlegrounds matches will be launching alongside Season 34, will cost 5 energy per round, and will match you with opponent based on the size of your roster. We feel this update is long overdue and will give you some smaller rosters now when you play the mode without being forced to match against accounts much larger than their own, effectively boxing them out of engaging with the game mode in a way. I think this is a good change. Like unranked Battlegrounds matches for you to be able to do your objectives, for you to have fun, for you to test out things, especially if you have smaller accounts, but even for bigger accounts, even for me, like there are times when I don't feel like I'm like super focused, or I just want to get the objectives done, and I'm happy with my score, but you know, in order not to lose the objectives, I kind of feel like I have to go in a ranked match. I think this is fine. I think this is a good addition. I don't have much bad to say about this. Unranked matches during season, yeah, sure, why not? You know, nothing kind of bad to say. I think this is genuinely a good change, and there you go. Mom says, some of you say that I never like anything. I like this. I don't have a single bad thing to say. Yeah. Unranked matches where you match based on your roster. That's it. Change to prevent future missteps to ensure this doesn't happen again. We're implementing stricter. Sure, okay. Enhanced internal review process to ensure all adjustments align with our design philosophy and receive proper approvals. Okay, sure. Improve pre-release testing to confirm changes match their intended purpose. Okay, well, believe it, I'll see it, you know. This is one of those things where we'll see how it goes. These steps are already in motion. We're committing to seeing this through moving forward. Looking ahead, we are very aware that September has not been our best month. Some of the issues were outside of our control. I don't give shit with that. Like services we depend on going offline. It's like your sales side going down for an hour is barely a blip on everybody's radar because people who wanted to spend money spent it anyways, and most people just didn't give a crap about that sale, to be honest. However, most of the problems were our fault, exactly, and we know we need to be better. Okay, so do it. We're currently building that general compensation package for you. Okay, for you that was promised due to connection issues that started last month. We're hoping to have this to you by Friday, and we think you will be pleased with the contents. I mean, still find it ridiculous. It takes them like a month to build a compensation package, but it might be a good thing because all the extra things that they have done wrong, we might get better compensation, I suppose, though. Sure. We have a lot of updates and surprises to share with you on this upcoming live stream on October 3rd, one of which I'm personally extremely excited for. Even more surprises during our Summoners Fest. Whether you will be there in person or watching at home, we want this to be the time of celebration in the contest where every summoner is proud to spend their time in the Battle Realm and walk away feeling excited and hopefully for the future. We don't want our players to feel frustrated or like their time, money, and feelings aren't valued. Well, okay, sure. I mean, like, nobody likes to feel frustrated or wants to be frustrated or feel unvalued. Bluntly, we are proud of the product we have put out on the field the past few months. We apologize for this, and we're going to be taking steps to ensure we get back on track and make the best game possible for you. Like we always say we want to do really is we can't promise you that every decision we make is going to hit the mark and that we aren't going to make any more mistakes. That would be a ridiculous promise, but we can promise that every decision we make is what we feel is the best for the game and its long-term future. And for our players, we feel confident that our outcome of everything discussed in this diary is landing in the best spot for the future of the game. Committed on making Malcolms of Champions a premium experience where the summoner feels heard, valued, and respected. The Spider-Woman update was a learning moment for us, and we're already using it to strengthen our process. And again, I just don't really buy that. Like, don't get me wrong, if they make the game better and it feels better, it's more fun, great, love that. As I said in the beginning, it's a win-win. Nothing against that. However, there is still this general feel that Kabam has a vision of what they want the game to be, and it's completely different from the players. And the way Kabam sees the game is completely different than the players do. And the way, Kabam employees think a good champion is different from the players. As in, like, players want quirky, cheesy interactions. Players like big damage numbers. Players want, simple execution and to have fun. And again, it's the type of thing, like, going back to the Serpent, it's like, nobody wants, to lose a fight just because you don't have one of the 5 champions in the game or one of the 10 champions in the game. Nobody wants to lose a Battlegrounds match just because it's impossible to fight against, an overpowered defender. And the moment Kabam says the Serpent is balanced, and everybody in the community says, like, are you fucking high or something, it's obviously overpowered, there is this rift. And the only logical interpretation there is Kabam wants you to lose without a chance to be able to do a fight unless you buy the newest product that they are putting out. And there's no fixing that unless Kabam dramatically changes that approach. And even here, they don't kind of acknowledge that. And even with the Spider-Woman's change, it still felt disingenuous. Because, like, she's even better weight count now. but she's still worse. And the way it was worded was kind of like, oh, I should feel good about this change, but obviously she's worse on both attack and defense. Like, why would I feel good about it? Oh, hey, but it's a severe debuff, it's even better. It's like, yeah, that debuff might be, but she's worse. And it's like, hey, we listened to you, so we're adjusting our plans, but we're still making her worse on attack. So no, I mean, outside of the unranked matches in Battlegrounds, this feels like they are trying, but they're speaking a different language. The Spider-Woman thing definitely feels disingenuous. Still not happy about it. Still, it's a fact that she's not going to be as good as she is right now, offensively or defensively. The Elder difficulty thing. Elder difficulty is such an abysmal failure that anything they have mentioned there is just not going to make it work. At all. The fact that, you know, for next 3 months plus, we still have to do the classic difficulty is stupid. The fact that even with reducing the difficulty and allowing, you know, low-level players and all, it's still a shit piece of content. I still don't want to do it. It's still boring. They don't talk about the nodes, for instance, being outdated and not changed in like half a decade. They still don't talk about the fact that it's absolutely not worth for newer players to do the monthly event quest because the rewards are so piss poor because of, you know, low prestige value. And again, any new player at this point would be an idiot to even invest time in that, because that is like a fundamental issue, but they don't even address that. And again, is Elder difficulty going to be a piece of content that I look forward to playing next month? Absolutely fucking not. It still sucks as a piece of content. And none of that addresses that. So I get it that they're trying. It's just I think for in terms of this quest, I think it's so shit that they themselves don't even know where to begin with what change. And the fact that it's like, I'll, you know, we'll adjust it in next. It shouldn't take that long. So I don't know. It kind of genuinely feels that they're on a different planet. Or they just don't get it all the way. It feels like they're trying, but they just don't get it. So let me know what you guys think. I'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have